Shall we by talking England-Belgium? Belgium, of course, finished top of the group after that 1-0 victory against England. What a strange match that was, Macca.
Yeah, it was very low-key, wasn't it? I think
the
Belgian manager before the game said he wanted to finish second in the group. They made 8 changes. England made 9, brought John Stones off, effectively made 10 at half-time. And it looked as if it wasn't an interesting game to watch, actually. It petered out and it was actually quite boring. England have finished second. It's not going to do them any harm at all. Belgium have topped the group, 9 points, a bit more confidence, but it was a subdued atmosphere because you knew that most of the England team were not going to play in the next game. So, they're not. It didn't matter if Jamie Vardy scored 3 in this game; he was not going to play in the knockout phase. Harry Kane was going to come back in.
Are you happy, Mac? Would you take?
Yeah, I was. Before the game, I knew they were going to play Colombia, and I knew they were going to play Sweden or Switzerland if they qualify. If they can't beat those teams, then they shouldn't be anywhere near the quarterfinals or the semi-finals. So I've got no problem with that.
Craig, do you have a problem?
No, I was a bit uncomfortable watching the game. I was uncomfortable with what Martinez said. I think Southgate was a little bit more clever about it, but it was there for all to see in his team selection. That being said, Rashford went through in the second half, missed a chance. I don't think he missed it on purpose, but did. He's one that might have given himself, not on today's performance, but had he played really well and scored 2 or 3 goals, he might have been one that was up for selection in the next game. But I just think momentum. I think we're just brushing off Colombia as if it's just going to be.
But if you were to choose one side of the bracket, you want to be on the bracket side, don't you?
Oh, I'm fed up with these brackets about what side you're going to play, who you're going to play.
Sure, but when it's as black and white as Brazil or Mexico and Sweden, Switzerland, if you can beat Colombia.
Well, if you can beat Colombia,
but then it's a no-brainer, isn't it?
I think it is.
Professionally,
professionally it is. Yeah.
The other thing about your next game, and I don't think you look much further than that. So as much as you may, as we as fans or as analysts look down one side of a bracket and say which side is easier or not, if you end up losing to Colombia, it wastes your entire tournament.
No, I know, but you could end up losing to Japan. I mean, the thing is, if you do predictions like you've just done, you've all done this World Cup predictions, you'll choose one or the other. England will be favourites against Colombia, no matter what's happened today. It looks as if James is out. England will be favourites. And therefore, you would think if they are favourites and we predict that they would go through, it doesn't mean they will go through, but if we predict they would go through, then Sweden, Switzerland is easier than Brazil. Because we all think Brazil will beat Mexico.
Good. Colombia come into this as the outsiders. England are favourites. Steve, you said professionally it was the right thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you try and avoid Brazil at all costs. And as we've just said,
Spain is
there a huge difference between Japan and Colombia? And certainly Colombia are a different team without James. And I'll be absolutely shocked if James is fit for this England game, which for Colombia, for me, is a disaster. When he's been on the field, he's been fantastic. They were down to 10 men and he came on and he completely changed it. Was fantastic. The last game, unfortunately now, he's out injured and I see no way he plays. And that makes England favourite.
And also England have virtually rested their whole team. You see a couple of the Colombians, I know James went off, but a couple more were limping near the end of the game. And, it's not going to do England any harm. If they don't beat Colombia, they don't, as I said before, they don't deserve it and they deserve criticism. They deserve a lot of criticism if they can't beat Colombia in the knockout phase, the way Colombia are playing at this moment in time.
It was completely an England B team, as you mentioned, only Stones and Pickford from the previous match.
Look, there's a couple of ways of looking at it. And I take all on board. I'm with all the guys. I'm 6 and 2/3 here with this.
Right.
It's all going to come out in the wash.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
If England had won the group, and you have to get past, and by the way, you have to get past Japan if that happened, and so will Belgium. If they were knocked out and it was the quarter-final knocked out by Brazil, that's kind of where the expectations were before England got on a plane. So that's probably better than being stuffed by Colombia in the round of 16, which could happen. So I just think it's dangerous to try and second guess where you're going to go. And to be honest with you, that's what both teams have done here.
Colombia are a much better team than Japan.
Without question. I thought you could tell that. 10-man Colombia, I thought were better than Japan. They played with 10 for 87 minutes. The Colombia you saw against Poland are easily capable of upsetting England.
They didn't play great today, but they got a result.
Yes, the Colombia we see against Senegal wasn't great at all. But the Colombia we saw in the first 2 games, I think, are a match for just about anybody in this tournament. And you write them off at your absolute peril. I just don't see this as being as straightforward and as clear-cut as making 10 changes would suggest.
So you wouldn't have done it? You would have put out the same thing that beat
I
Panama?
think this is a tournament that we've seen more than our fair share of upsets. We've seen karma come back to bite at least one team so far.
Why is it karma, Shay?
All I'm saying is, you don't make changes looking down the road, in my opinion. You look at the next game, and that's all that matters, in my opinion.
But Roberto Martinez did it.
Well, I was going to say, Roberto Martinez done that.
And it may very well come back to bite him yet. That's all I'm saying. Because Roberto Martinez does it, we're talking about England here. If you ask me about it, England, you don't look past the next game. If you ask me about Belgium, I say the exact same thing. The fact that Roberto Martinez did it doesn't make it right.
Yeah, but Japan made loads of changes and they lost the game and gone through.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, you could say that about every single team. In the end, you have to manage your players what you think is the right way. I don't think Gareth Southgate wanted to lose today and finish second. I just think the scenario came that England lost the game, and actually it didn't really matter if you won or lost today. You can make
do you know, this has been such a great World Cup. This is a weird conversation to be having.
Yeah. It's just this position.
We can't analyse the game because nothing happened.
It's a lot, not that we're shy in doing this, but it's a lot negative today. Where the whole World Cup so far has been, you know, we've rushed into the studio and said, God, we've got so much to talk about.
Yeah.
The game's been won.
You've ever rushed into the studio?
All right, maybe I embellished that a little bit. I wandered down half-heartedly. But
today's probably the first day we've not had. We've not been excited about something. At least one game of the two. Today's the first.
Well, I felt sorry for.
What's the negative for England?
Oh, here we go. What?
There's absolutely no negative for England today.
But the argument is they've lost momentum.
They haven't, because the players who were going to play didn't play, so they've lost no momentum at all.
Well, I'll give you one negative.
Well.
I'll give you one negative. Shaka just spelled it out to you, unless you're deaf in that right ear.
Pardon?
They've now got a tougher team in the round of 16. Is that a positive or a negative? Speak. No. England have now
splitting hairs here.
England,
You're splitting hairs here.
You're splitting hairs.
Of course
Who's a
you
better
are.
team, Japan or Colombia? Who's a better team?
It's a toss of your coin right
No,
now.
it's not. No.
There's no James Rodriguez. The best player's not playing.
Exactly.
Without
How good
James
Portugal?
without
Ronaldo?
Without James Rodriguez, Colombia are still a better team than Japan.
10-man
is that
Colombia was
positive?
better than Japan. They should have won that.
That's the only negative.
Without James and down to 10
I just don't
men.
see where there's a negative.
Yeah, I'm the same as you, Bumper.
There's no confirmation, by the way, that James is out for that game.
I've just told you. I'm telling you.
Just to confirm.
He spoke to
I'm telling you. He's out.
Sources say.
Boys, when you take a look at this, which is the game that jumps out, the one that gets you most excited?
Well, personally, I'm looking forward to watching France against Argentina because the two of them have been quite low-key, really, haven't they? And they've got big players within their starting 11. So I'm really looking forward to that because they have to start performing sooner rather than later.
Who have you got going through in that one?
I would pick France to go through against Argentina.
Argentina have been a mess, haven't they?
That's Saturday morning, isn't it?
Yes.
Yep. Sorry.
Yes.
Put you in the spot there. And Uruguay, Portugal, Saturday afternoon, which is there's going to be a great game as well.
It's going to be a really good day, isn't it?
Is that what you got to say about that? Just some times?
Well, you asked me what games looking forward to.
Well, yes. I thought you might give me some more detail.
It's tough.
I'm actually looking forward to the game Marca talks about. I think that's the best game.
It's the standout game.
It's one that stands out.
Yeah, it's hard not to look past that, isn't it?
Okay, we've got 3 minutes left in the show, so we need some other games that you're looking for.
Brazil-Mexico will be a good game. Because you know Mexico are going to try and do what they did to Germany. So that means that we're going to get just attacking football.
Can it work like it did against Germany?
No, because I think the firepower Brazil have is way above what Germany had. And unfortunately for Mexico, this will be the end. But listen, they're lucky to get this far.
Do you think Mexico will change the way they play?
No.
Do you think they'll still just go toe-to-toe? Is that what they do?
I think the fact that they did what they did against Germany you'd be crazy not to try and replicate it.
I think that's exactly what they tried to do, tried to hit Brazil in the counter-attack. For me, Brazil just have more legs in midfield than Germany do. I thought that's where Germany ended up shooting themselves in the foot. I don't see it working that well for Mexico. But as far as which game I'm looking forward to, I don't think you look much further than France, Argentina. I actually have Argentina coming through, you know.
Yeah?
I think somehow they patch it all together. France have just as many problems as Argentina.
Oh, shut up.
Yes, they do. This is not a good France team.
Don't give it. Oh, dear heaven.
This is not a good France team.
They haven't played well, but it's a good team.
What should you judge them on?
Well, they might.
If you're going to judge France and Germany, right? Sorry, France and Argentina. The things that France have that Argentina don't have are shape, purpose, unity, chemistry. What do Argentina have? They don't have any of those things.
No, they have Lionel Messi.
Well,
That's
Yeah, but he's
got a lot to make up
he's
for.
player manager. That's all he's got a lot of stress on his shoulders.
I'm looking forward to Lionel
Sao Paulo
Messi. I'm looking forward to Messi's team selection.
Yeah.
Honestly, I
Will he
did.
pick Mascherano?
Do you think it picks up Pauli?
The Argentinian, some part of this team select, or whoever's picking the team, I don't know, somebody from the Argentinian FA, but it has been horrendous.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what the hell is going to be the lineup for this game? Nobody. We know Messi's playing. We know probably Otamendi's going to play.
Mascherano will play.
guaranteed.
So, I mean, is Aguero going to play? Is it Higuain again? I mean,
Is Dybala
we're going to get a sighting of
game?
Dybala.
Yeah.
I mean, or is he going to start bringing these guys on again? That he's been like Meza and people. That was just crazy.
As you can imagine, the reaction in the German press wasn't particularly positive after that shock defeat against South Korea, of course, dumping them out of the group stages of the World Cup. Interesting, some people pointing the blame at the coach, others at the players and complacency. Stevie, you even worked yesterday, obviously. Where does the fault lie for you?
I think you have to look at the coach. You know, his job is not only about what happens on the field, but what happens off the field. He has to set the tone of where the concentration is, you know, the chemistry. You've got to do things. You've got a bunch of guys who are together for, what, 5 weeks up to now? You've got to be able to figure a way out of keeping them going, not letting them get complacent. And as I said, it's clearly been off the field where the problems have been, which then show themselves on the field.
What was Neuer up to, Shaq?
Went for a little wander, didn't he?
He certainly did go for a big one.
I mean, I don't get that. I understand Manuel Neuer, as good as he is with his feet, etc., why you end up that close to the opposition box in possession and then get caught out is beyond me. But Jurgen Löw has to accept responsibility for this from the very get-go.
He's got to go. Would you sack him?
Yeah, I think that cycle has come to an end now. You know, let's take nothing away from how good he has been as Germany's manager. Took over a team in a similar condition, brought in new faces, brought in younger players, and turned them into world champions. That cycle has now come to an end for both Jurgen Löw and the vast majority of the squad.
You mentioned it yesterday. He just seemed completely clueless when it came to his team selection yet again yesterday, and it just seemed to resonate throughout the
Well, the
tournament.
buck stops with a manager at all times, if it's club or country. Players always get some stick, but the manager always shoulders the blame. I don't know off the top of my head how many changes he made over the 3 games, but it was a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
And the Neuer situation, I just think, summed up the recklessness within that German camp, which is something that is strange to be saying. And the other side of the coin is he was quite lucky to be playing. He missed a big chunk of the season with Bayern Munich, and Ter Stegen was excellent for Barcelona. So the coach made all these decisions. Buck stops with him.
Did the fact they won the World Cup last time out, does that affect them going into this tournament? And then there was a little bit of swagger, a bit of complacency.
It shouldn't do.
Not the same desire.
It shouldn't do. They should still have the same desire. They should have the swagger because they're confident and they're playing in the highest leagues across Europe. It's just that they simply weren't good enough. And I don't know whether it's just a huge bunch of egos clashing, but whether it's Hummels coming out in the first game. Everybody's come out today saying we're not good enough, we weren't good enough, we were terrible, we were this, we were that. And no one seems to accept the blame on the pitch, because on the pitch they looked a complete shambles, and that's the first time you'd ever say that about Germany. Nobody seemed to care about the teammates. Nobody wanted to cover for the teammates. As Shaka just said, Manuel Neuer running past the centre defenders and just leaving them isolated, almost thinking that he's a better footballer than them. I was astounded at some of the decisions made on the pitch, and that doesn't bode well at all, isn't it? When everybody's finger pointing on, you know, at your own teammates, it's not my fault, it's his fault. It's not his fault, he missed the chances. It's not my fault, he ran forward and didn't cover defensively. Do
you think
it just absolutely stunk the whole thing?
Do you think the fact that they went to the Confederations Cup with what everybody thought was just a run-of-the-mill squad, a lot of young guys, they're all thrown together, do you think some of the players that were in that, and particularly the coach and the coaching staff, do you think the fact that they ended up winning that comfortably, that kind of was where the rot set in? They all of a sudden think, you know what, doesn't matter what we do, we're the best. Do you think that's possible, that carried on?
Well, a couple of the players, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but Thomas Müller didn't always play this season for Bayern Munich, did he?
No.
So you got and by the way, he's been a great player. But it's almost like, but he does it for Germany. Same with Mesut Ozil.
Yep.
Pretty average for Arsenal and an average side, to be fair. But he always does it for Germany. It's kind of that mentality. Yeah. These guys will play because they do it for Germany. Well, they've actually stopped doing it for Germany, and that's been a big issue for them.
The amazing thing for me is, and we keep talking about this, I certainly was saying this about Germany, they almost live by a different set of rules when it comes to football, in that regardless of what injuries they have or whether they're in great form or not, they always compete and are always there or thereabouts. Yet still, despite the names on this team sheet, despite the experience, no, you can't just say that this team are living on the glories of 4 years ago. Germany doesn't do that. Germany has never done that. And to see this team look as inept as it has, it points to some bigger problems. It has to.
Very well. How's he going to cope? This is a good signing.
Yeah, it's a fantastic signing for DC. I think for Wayne, the problem is going to be he knows he's coming in to a team that is way, way below Premier League level. And it's one thing to accept it and know that, but it's another thing when you go in the morning to training and then you go, hold on a second, that's not quite what I was expecting. That's a complete attitude problem. And if he has the right attitude, then it won't affect him, and he'll be able to show what he has. But if he goes the other way, he's going to be miserable.
Shaka, you made that jump from England to the US. How do you think he'll find it?
I think he'll be all right. You know, as long as he, gets us settled down and finds his own space off the field, I think he'll do well. On it, I don't have that much concerns. I don't think Wayne Rooney is DC United's answers for all their problems, and there are a lot. But I think he'll score goals. What I've found, and just kind of looking at players coming over, midfielders struggle a little bit. Older midfielders, Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard, Andrea Pirlo. But I remember having the same concern when Didier Drogba came over, that he'd lost his legs. I wasn't quite sure that he could make it in this side of the pond, yet he scored bagfuls of goals for Montreal. And as a result, that's why I'm backing Wayne Rooney to get goals for DC here. Doesn't make them title contenders, but it makes them a whole lot better.
What do you make in this
Just
move?
depends how he settles in, what he's going to do with the family. That's a big decision to be made.
Sure.
And also, I don't know if it's the case, but I'd imagine the guys that you mentioned, particularly Steven Gerrard, the frustrations got in there quite quickly. And I think if you become frustrated with teammates that can't do what previous teammates have done clearly, then that becomes very difficult.
That's going to be the hardest thing for him, isn't it? He's a big signing. I believe they're moving into a new stadium. I don't know the team certainly as well as you lads do, so I can't comment on that. But I think that's the one thing for me. If he can get his head round the fact that he's going to be infinitely much better than his teammates, and when he says to his teammates, do this and do that, and he's expecting one of his teammates to be bombing forward because that's what they do in the Premier League, and he's 10 yards behind. If he can get his head around that, then he'll be a success. As in, he's only 32. He's still fit. He had a long season with Everton. He wasn't at his best, but maybe moving to Everton and the worries that they had didn't help him. But I think it's only going to be, it's only going to get worse than that.
I kind of had a similar thought when he went to Everton. You're going from Man United.
Yeah.
It's a different level of player. As good as Everton are in the Premier League, it's a different level.
Right.
And a different style of play, mate, as well, isn't it?
And guess what? He scored goals. He scored goals.
Yeah,
so there's no reason why he can't do the same at DC United.
It's impressive stats, isn't it, from Wayne Rooney? When you reflect on his career, just take a look at the number of goals that he's scored. Maybe not over the last few seasons, but overall, a top-class striker has joined MLS.
It's time for the knockout stage at the FIFA World Cup, which means that the stakes get higher for our World Cup predictor. Casey Keller's up against me today. Casey, how have you enjoyed the tournament? And let's get into France against Argentina.
It's been a tremendous tournament so far. Now it's up to the guys to, under that pressure of one game only, who's going to come through.
This has the makings of a semi-final, a quarter-final at least. It's in the round of 16, this matchup.
No, it's interesting. It's two teams that really have kind of underwhelmed so far. I mean, big expectations on France with the squad that they have here, and obviously any team that has Lionel Messi in it, there's an expectation, and the question mark will be which of them will kind of finally become the team we expected them to become.
Which way are you going?
I'm going with France. I just don't think Argentina are as strong as well, I think we all expected. They weren't as strong as we thought they were, and that's why they struggled to qualify and why they struggled to get out of the first round. And I think if you looked at, I looked at their celebrations of getting out of the first round, and it was like they succeeded in the World Cup. And I think France are disappointed with how they played in the first round, and we'll turn it right.
I think you're spot on with those celebrations. Argentina's certainly looking happy to be out of it, but I think it might just be a little bit of a moment for them. Certainly if they play with the same lethargy in the group stage, they're not going to get through, but I picked them, and particularly Messi, to have a huge influence in this one, and I'm actually going to go with Argentina.
All right.
Okay, Uruguay, 100% record against Portugal with Ronaldo.
I think Uruguay have the best center-back partnerships in Godin and Jimenez. I think they also arguably might have the best striker partnership in Cavani and Suarez. I think Portugal are a little bit of a one-man show. I think defense will win over attack, and I think Uruguay will get the blushes of Cristiano, and Cristiano will bow out of this World Cup in the round of 16.
I think it's going to be very, very tight indeed, but I don't back Uruguay to have the same kind of freedom they played with in the group stage. I think that Portugal will see this through tactically. I like Santos and his game plan, and I think with Ronaldo they might just nick it. Spain coming up against Russia.
Look, I think Russia was fantastic in the first two matches. I think we saw a little bit more of the true Russia in the third match. Spain, I think, are starting to get through the whole Lopetegui getting fired 2 days before the tournament started. They've now had 3 matches. They're starting to figure it out. Spain just too strong for Russia.
I'm with you, Casey. Let's go for Spain in that one, as the hosts bow out potentially. Croatia, who have just been lighting it up against a Denmark team that didn't show their best against France, but obviously did enough.
Right, I think Denmark are well organized. They compete extremely well, but I think Croatia are just too strong. I think Croatia are arguably the best team overall in the opening round, and I don't see them having much trouble against Denmark.
Okay.
I'm going with Croatia.
I'll go with Croatia as well, I think. So there we go. We differed a little bit. Let us know, of course, at ESPN FC what you think the knockout stage will look like. But these are our picks for the round of 16, the first half of which, of course, start on Saturday and Sunday. All 4 of these matches to be played over the weekend. Join us here. Keep it here, ESPN FC.
Welcome to Extra Time, everyone. A lot of questions for you all today. Was Batshuayi's goal celebration the best part of England versus Belgium?
Yep.
That was magnificent, wasn't it? You want to recreate it, Stevie, somehow?
Any goals?
It's brilliant.
Nigh on impossible to recreate, isn't it?
It was brilliant.
It was brilliant.
Do you have any embarrassing goal celebrations, boys, back in the day? You were part of one of the most famous ones ever.
Yep.
What was that?
That was Gaza and the dentist
Gaza
chair,
with
wasn't it?
yeah, Gaza and the dentist chair.
I was
Yeah.
there.
You must have had a good view of that.
I did.
Were you on the bench or were you on the
I
pitch?
was on- I was rub-a-dub.
Rubber
Dub.
dub.
For Peter was sub.
Yeah.
I was on the bench.
What are you doing to the arms of the chair?
I also had a good view of Maka scoring the equaliser at Celtic Park and then running off behind. I had a good view of that as well.
Ah, was that UEFA Cup, Liverpool,
Yeah.
Celtic?
He went,
it was, yeah.
he went in a little mazy, the lad. I might have been carrying a few, might have been carrying a couple of rucksacks at that time in the game.
Hey, can I try that seat later?
Keep rubbing it like
You look as
that.
though you're enjoying yourself there.
I tell you what, have you nothing better to do? Look over here.
Sorry.
Next question.
Sorry.
Who has the more difficult task? Ronaldo helping Portugal beat a stubborn and resolute Uruguay, or Messi helping Argentina overcome a talented but uninspiring France team? Who stands a better chance of winning their round of 16 tie? Ronaldo or Messi? You love Ronaldo or Messi, Shaq?
Messi has a better chance.
Ronaldo has a better chance.
My predicted thing, I picked Argentina.
I think Ronaldo has a better chance.
Ronaldo's got a better chance.
Oh,
Absolutely.
there you go. Why do you hate
number.
England? Who's this? I don't know who this is to.
Who's it to? Could be any of the 3 of them.
It's to Shaka, actually.
To me?
Yes.
Why I hate England?
Why do you hate England? Is it because of the Steven Gerrard screamer you conceded in the 2006 World Cup, or Crouch's pull on Brent Sancho's dreadlocks?
Yeah, that's what it is.
You don't really hate anyone, Shaq.
No, I'm not bothered. I back CONCACAF after that. I ain't bothered about anybody else.
So is anyone from CONCACAF through?
Mexico.
Ah,
Yeah, but
so you'll support Mexico over Brazil?
I'll support Mexico. Don't think they're going to win.
Okay. Steve McManaman, what is commentating with Ian Darke like?
Incredible.
What a man he is, eh?
I know, yeah, exactly. Universally liked.
Yeah.
Great fella, great man to spend a lot of time with, travelling around various countries. He's comical at times. He's like, you know, he's senile old grandad, but he's brilliant.
Darkey's a comedian, but
He's
without
brilliant.
realising.
He doesn't realise
No, he doesn't know he's doing it, but he's just funny.
He's a good boy, good.
Superstar.
Do you like him, Shane, or do you hate him as
I
well?
love Ian Darke. I love Ian Darke.
Just say something
Senile
nice about
old
Ian Darke,
granddad.
Stevie? I feel like you've missed out on this.
I think the term is unconscious comedian.
Is that a term?
When has anyone ever used that
I've never heard that term in my
You've
life.
never heard it?
No, I've heard it. Oh yeah, we use that.
It's
An unconscious
it must be
comedian.
Scottish,
That's
obviously.
the Scottish thing, yeah.
Unconscious comedian.
It's just we don't normally say it that seriously. I think the term is.
That was my Mark Donaldson voice. An unconscious comedian.
Darkey's great. I mean, because there's no edges to him, unlike. Right.
Anyway, right. And are your World Cup winner
No,
picks differing based on what you've seen so far in the tournament? Well, you picked Germany, so it's probably
Pick
different.
Brazil now, yeah.
Brazil.
Yeah.
Who did you pick, Matt, to win?
I haven't done one of these predictions for yourselves.
Tomorrow,
I don't.
apparently.
I actually.
Tomorrow.
I don't think Brazil will win it though.
So who will?
I'll have to go through everything, but I don't think they will win it.
Oh, find out tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that for a
Watch your
cliffhanger.
space.
Brazil?
Yeah.
You picked Brazil at the start?
Aye.
Yeah, okay, good. Will LeBron James join the Rockets? Shaq, I feel drawn to
No.
you.
Who's the Rocket?
The Lakers.
Lakers.
The Lakers?
Yes.
Stevie, where do you think?
Who's the Rocket?
Basketball team.
No,
Houston.
no,
Houston.
Houston.
Where do you think it's going to go?
No.
The Lakers.
Lakers? You into basketball?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Why, of course. Not a given.
Because I'm a universal sportsman.
Are you into basketball, Dan?
No,
Why is that?
don't like it.
Not because you've not to do with being 5'2".
Well, doesn't stop me liking other sports.
Oh, Middle Lemon wasn't a big guy.
Okay.
Who? We Middle
Who?
What do you mean who?
He could go to HR, you know.
ESPN FC
Call
returns
him a little
tomorrow.
man.
You're off tomorrow, aren't you, Craig?
Right, aye.
You playing some basketball? Craig played for Scotland under 16s basketball team.
Shut up, move on.
What? Is it true?
Is it true?
No,
It is true.
that's not. It was under 15s.
Look at you. Look at you.
Smart.
He's right.
What?
He's right. Yeah, I meant smart.
Marcus not having a day off. Are you having a day off?
I'm not having a day off. I don't want a day off.
No,
If
I'm
I'm here.
fine.
Why would I work?
working.
I'm off tomorrow too.
I'm going to be in.
Then it'll be Robbo.
The
He'll
work
be
on my
back. There'll
basketball.
never be shifts.
ESPN. Yeah, let's all rub the chairs, shall we? See what happens.
Get off. Come on. I need
Nah,
to
must be that.
There's no place like home. There's no place like home.
ESPN FC then back tomorrow. It's a rest day.
Greetings from Moscow, where the Mexican national team has returned to their training base after what it must be said was a disastrous trip to Ekaterinburg. They trained this morning, regenerative work, I think both physical, but more importantly perhaps, Cirque, in spirit.
Yeah, you're going to have to recharge those batteries, especially mentally. Anytime you get dominated and owned like that, especially with this kind of stage, with all the world watching, when you were expected to win, you're expected to advance in a much more favorable manner, you have to reflect and you've got to come back with more.
If the 3-0 final result wasn't bad enough, Mexico will also lose Héctor Moreno, one of the pillars of their back line for the matchup against Brazil. First, how big of a loss is that? And second, who replaces him?
I'm going to be quite frank with you. I don't think it's that big of a loss.
You haven't really rated him throughout the
No,
tournament.
his first 2 games were very subpar against Sweden. I mean, nobody had a good game. But Héctor Moreno has left a lot to be desired. He's supposed to be a strong, physical, imposing center back. He's been none of that. The most imposing center back they had, the best defender, is Carlos Salcedo, who up until the tournament was a right back. This may be an opportunity for Hugo Ayala to slide in. Hugo Ayala played very well against Germany. He's a player who's very composed on the ball. He's got decent pace. He's an outlet. He's a good organizer. I think it could be a benefit to this Mexican team.
One of the biggest question marks around this Mexican team entering the tournament were the outside back positions. Through the first 2 games, those spots held up pretty well. It wasn't the case against Sweden. Both Jesus Gallardo and Edson Alvarez leaving a lot to be desired. What's the answer there for Juan Carlos Osorio?
Well, it may be Miguel Layún, Who do you take out? Will it be Gallardo? I don't think so, because Juan Carlos Osorio really rates him, especially with his ability to win headers in the midfield. He sees how direct these teams can be. I think he'll keep Gallardo. I think it'll be Edson Alvarez. Edson Alvarez had a rough go of it versus Sweden. He's a young player. He's 20 years old. You don't know how he will bounce back mentally. I think we may see Miguel Ayun there.
If there's another player that the Mexican press right now is focusing their attention on after the match against Sweden, it's the captain, Andres Guardado. I thought he was really good against Germany. Maybe since then you could question just what he's been able to bring.
Well, when you say he's been really good against Germany, it's because of how much ground he covered versus Germany. He was all over the place. He was a good outlet. He protected the ball. He recovered. But he had an injury, and he had a surgery right before the World Cup. You don't have surgery right before the World Cup unless it's absolutely necessary. I don't think he's fit. I don't think he's 100% fit. I think after the first game, once those endorphins wore out, once it was back to normal and it's just pure fitness, you started to see him leveling off. And it was evident versus Sweden. He gave the ball a ton. Transition came right down there, the center of the field for them. Andres Guardado was a big part of that. We could see a change there.
Who?
Well, that's a good question. That's a very good question.
Jesus Molina would be the obvious answer. Juan Carlos Osorio left him off the team.
If you had to ask me right now and I had to bet, I would say Jonathan Dos Santos. He's the easy answer. But Juan Carlos Osorio has been itching to get Rafa Marquez on, and that is my worry.
Huge drama and history played out in Group H in the deciding round of matches at the FIFA World Cup today, as Japan became the first nation ever to make it through on the tiebreak that is fair play points. They did it with 2 fewer yellow cards than Senegal, who also fell to defeat to Colombia, Japan falling by the only goal of the game to Poland, who were already eliminated, but they go through, Casey. The drama and the controversy for some has occurred in those final few minutes where Japan realised the result of the other game and realised they were heading through on fair play points and just knocked the ball around for the last few minutes.
Right, but the result wasn't over. The game was still going on against Senegal, Colombia. So if Senegal finds an equalizer, Japan are out. Or I think really what it came down to is they had a big scare. They had a big scare when Lewandowski should have made it 2-0. And that would have thrown all the goal difference, all that stuff out the window and would have put it in the favor of Senegal. So they basically just said, look, we're going to gamble on Colombia not conceding, and we're going to take our time with this. And in the end, look, it worked, but it's a big gamble where really, Japan are bailed out by a result from Colombia, where if Japan gets the job done themselves, then they don't have to worry about other results.
Yeah, so we're not looking at an Anschluss kind of situation that we saw back in the early 80s.
No, not at all. And you would have seen that if these games would not have been played at the same time, and Japan would have known what the result was beforehand, not just hoping, not knowing what the result was in real time, but still had that risk. As Senegal throw a bunch of bodies forward at the end of the game, if a ball bounces a different way, maybe they find that equalizer, and that gamble by Japan, doesn't work. But in the end, it works for them.
How did you find Japan in the group stage overall?
It's hard because when they're playing a man up for 87 minutes in the first game where they got that valuable 3 points against Colombia, it kind of throws it for not being heads up. Now, if they beat Colombia, straight up, 11v11, got their 2 goals, did whatever, then maybe you're saying that they're worthy of it. But look, they did what they needed to do. They found a way with the new rules that came to their advantage. They got through. They played the rules for the rules. They made it, and full credit to them.
Regardless of who they come up against, England or Belgium in the round of 16, do you expect Japan to proceed?
No. No, I think they'll probably get knocked out in the round of 16. But look, you have to get there to give yourself a chance. Just go back to the last World Cup, the U.S. against Belgium. Yes, for all likelihood, Belgium absolutely took it to the U.S., but there was that opportunity at 0-0 late for Chris Wondolowski that could have thrown that all out the window. So that's why you play the game. And obviously Japan did not expect to beat Colombia in the first match. They get a red card in the 3rd minute, which helps them drastically. Who knows what's going to happen? That's why you play the match.
Okay, well, we'll look forward to seeing what Japan can do today. They looked a little tired on their feet and, as we've discussed, just in the end decided to take the risk that Senegal just wouldn't find an equaliser against Colombia. So, history made. Japan, the first team through on FIFA fair play points out of Group H, and they'll play either Belgium or England in the round of 16. Group H came down to the merest of margins to see who would make it through to the knockout stages at the FIFA World Cup in Russia. Colombia starting the day outside the top 2 places in the group. They were taking on Senegal. So at the start, as we take a look at how it all finished out, Colombia required to win this game to give them a chance. But it would come down to what happened in Japan against the 1-0 win against the Senegalese. It was to and fro, though, Casey Keller, throughout the whole of this encounter.
Well, I think the coolest part about this whole group was it comes down to the last kick of the game. That nobody knows who's going to go through. If Senegal scores late, then they get the draw, they go through, but then obviously Japan is looking at it going, well, wait a minute, if it stays the way it is and we don't concede another goal, then we're going through as long as Senegal doesn't score. And it was fascinating, kind of trying to go through all the different applications of how these teams go through and how these teams don't go through. And then in the end, the lack of yellow cards. 2 less yellow cards is the reason Japan goes through ahead of Senegal.
For you, Colombia worthy group winners?
Yes, I think so. I think if you look at the 3rd-minute red card against Japan, that obviously weighed in that match. And then what did they need to do? They needed to guarantee themselves going through by winning their next 2 matches, and they did exactly that.
Yeah, a goal from Yeremina proving to be the difference. That's his 2nd goal of the tournament. But it put Senegal down, and at that point, Japan were hanging on for dear life, also behind against Poland, coming down to those 2 fewer yellow cards that the Japanese picked up. So Senegal, in the end, will feel aggrieved, having made the quarterfinals at their only other World Cup appearance. Here they go out on fair play points.
Well, they're going to hold their hand up and say, you know, we had a chance to get a draw against Colombia and go through. Simple as that. You need to, if you don't win a match and you need results from somebody else, then you can only blame yourself. So they put themselves in a great position. They couldn't quite get the job done against Colombia. Yes, it's a shame when you look at it and say we didn't advance because of something as trivial as 2 yellow cards. But they can hold their heads up. They performed well in the tournament and had opportunities and just didn't take them.
But as we look forward, James Rodriguez coming off just after the half-hour mark. Whoever Colombia are up against, whether it's England or Belgium in the next stage, it's going to be a problem if James Rodriguez isn't fit.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, James is the real playmaker for that Colombian team, and the guy that can make everybody better, that can play the pass, that unlocks defenses, better than anyone else. So we'll have to see. He came off. He was back on the bench. It wasn't like he was all wrapped up in. Maybe it was just something that was bothering him that he only needs a couple days to recover from and be ready for that round of 16 game. And if Colombia really have any hope to advance as far as they possibly can,